It was a warm Friday afternoon at the corner of Maple Street, just outside Bridgeport's busy city center. Officer Rachel Steele had just finished his lunch break and was sitting in his patrol car sipping on the last bit of his coffee. Rachel was one of those officers who seemed to believe that the badge on his chest gave him the right to treat others however he wanted. And today, that badge would lead him into a situation he'd regret for the rest of his life. Across the street, a black man dressed in a dark suit stepped out of a nearby cafe. His name was Marcus Harris, a confident and calm man. And though he had grown up in Bridgeport, he had spent the last few years working in another city. What nobody knew, though, was that Marcus had recently been promoted to captain and was assigned to the very precinct Rachel worked in. But that was something Rachel wouldn't find out until it was too late. As Marcus crossed the street, Rachel's attention shifted from his coffee to the man walking toward him. There was nothing suspicious about Marcus, but for someone like Rachel, any reason to cause trouble was good enough. He squinted his eyes, gripping the wheel of his car as Marcus walked closer. Rachel didn't like how this man carried himself without warning. Rachel got out of his patrol car, slamming the door behind him. He marched up to Marcus with an irritated face. "Hey, you. What are you doing around here?" Rachel barked, stepping right into Marcus's path. His tone was harsh, the kind of tone meant to intimidate Marcus. Stopped looking at Rachel with calm but surprised eyes. "I'm just on my way to a meeting," Marcus replied respectfully. Rachel wasn't interested in the answer. "You look like you're up to no good," he sneered, stepping closer as if trying to provoke a reaction. "Got any ID?" he asked. Marcus reached into his jacket, slowly making sure not to make any sudden movements. "I'm happy to show you my ID, officer," he said, keeping his calm demeanor. But before Marcus could fully pull out his wallet, Rachel's temper flared. "You think you could talk to me like you're some big shot?" Rachel growled, grabbing Marcus by the arm roughly. And before Marcus could even react, Rachel swung his fist hard, punching Marcus square in the face. The force of the blow knocked Marcus back, and he stumbled, but managed to stay on his feet. Everything happened so fast the few passers-by who witnessed the punch stood, frozen in disbelief. Marcus, still studying himself, raised his hand to his cheek where the officer's fist had landed. Rachel smirked clearly, feeling justified in his actions. "Maybe now you'll earn some respect," he said. But just as he was about to turn away, Marcus stood tall again. This time, there was no mistaking the authority in his eyes. "You just made a big mistake, officer," Marcus said slowly. Rachel snorted, still unaware of who he was dealing with. "Oh yeah, and what mistake is that, buddy?" Marcus stared at him no longer. The calm man who had just crossed the street. "I'm Captain Marcus Harris, the new captain of this precinct," he said for a second. Rachel froze, and his face was turning pale. He blinked, as if trying to process what he had just heard. "What did you say?" He stammered, his confidence beginning to crack. "I said, I'm the new captain," Marcus repeated now, standing firmly in front of the officer. "You just assaulted me, and I am going to press charges." "Rachel?" Smug expression melted away, replaced by panic. He couldn't believe what he had done. All the power and control he thought he had was now slipping through his fingers like sand. He had crossed the line L, and now there would be no turning back for a few heartbeats. Rachel stood frozen in place, his mind trying to catch up with the words that had just come out of Marcus's mouth. The new captain. The thought buzzed in his head like an annoying fly. He had punched the new captain of his own precinct. Marcus stared at Rachel for a moment longer before he calmly reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet. This time, G didn't move. He watched, speechless, as Marcus pulled out his official ID card and held it up in his face. "I think this should clear things up," Marcus said. "But let me make myself even clearer. You assaulted a superior officer. I'm pressing charges, and you're going to answer for this." Rachel's heart sank. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The arrogance that had been burning in his chest moments earlier had been completely extinguished. He could feel the eyes of the onlookers who had witnessed the entire exchange staring at him. Judging him and Marcus calm and in control wasn't done yet. Marcus took out his phone and without hesitation dialed a number. Rachel could only listen as Marcus spoke to someone on the other end of the line. "Yes, this is Captain Harris. I need a squad down here at Maple and 5th Avenue. There's been an incident involving Officer Rachel Matt." He paused for a moment, listening. "No injuries on my side, but there will be charges filed for assault. Please send someone immediately." Rachel's stomach twisted into a knot as he realized what was about to happen. His career, everything he had worked for, everything he thought he could get away with was falling apart right in front of him the whole time. Marcus stood there, his expression unreadable, waiting for backup to arrive. As they waited, a few pedestrians began to murmur among themselves, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others quietly discussing what had just unfolded. A few of them even recorded the entire incident on their phones. Something Rachel hadn't noticed earlier. The realization that this could end up on the news, or worse all over social media, sent a cold chill down his spine. Before long, the sound of sirens filled the air. 2 squad cars pulled up and outed a group of officers. Greg recognized a few of them. They were his colleagues, men and women he worked with every day as they approached. The tension in the air grew thicker. One of the officers, Sergeant Parker, a non-nonsense woman who had been with the department for over 20 years, stepped forward. "Captain Harris," she said, nodding respectfully. Her eyes flicked over to Rachel, and she raised an eyebrow clearly, not understanding the situation yet. Sergeant Parker Marcus greeted her. "I'm pressing charges against Officer Matt for assault. He punched me in the face without any provocation." Parker's face tightened in shock, and her eyes shot over to Rachel, who stood there, pale and sweating. "Rachel, is this true?" She asked Rachel for the first time in his life, didn't know what to say. He stammered, his usual confidence completely shattered. "I didn't know he was the captain." Parker didn't wait for him to finish, whether you knew or not. "Doesn't matter. You assaulted a superior officer," she said flatly. She then turned to the other officers and nodded. "Cuff him." 2 of the officers, men Rachel had shared coffee breaks with and laughed with, stepped forward. Their expressions were hard professional as they moved to handcuff Rachel, and he didn't resist. He knew it was over once. Rachel was secured. Parker turned back to him. "Captain, we'll take it from here. Is there anything else you need?" Marcus shook his head. "Just make sure this gets handled by the book. Sergeant, I'll be pressing formal charges as soon as we get back to the station." The cold, hard metal of the handcuffs around Rachel's wrists dug into his skin as the squad car pulled away from Maple Street. He couldn't believe it. Just a few minutes ago, he had felt like he was in control, like he had all the power. But now, sitting in the back of a police car, his career and reputation in ruins, he was nothing more than a criminal in custody. Thank you for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, don't hesitate to like the video and share it with your friends too. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more fascinating stories. Have a nice day.